It all began with the end of everything. The multiverse was collapsing. Worlds collided. Realities died. And as the last Earths burned, the X-Men stood together one final time. Not against Magneto, not against Sentinels, but against the end itself. Charles Xavier was gone. Cyclops carried the power of the Phoenix Force. And as the skies cracked open, he whispered one last vow. If there's a world after this, mutants will have a place in it. And somehow he got his wish. When the smoke cleared, they awoke to a world that defied reason. A world stitched together from fragments of destroyed realities. Battleworld, ruled by God Emperor Doom. The mutants found themselves in a land called Doomguard, bordered by twisted kingdoms, Hydra Empire, Technopolis, the Deadlands, and more. Each region ruled by a baron loyal to Doom. But this new world had its own law. No gods but Doom. And mutants, with all their power, all their history, were not among the chosen. They were tolerated, contained, watched. Doom called their territory Mutopia and placed its leadership under a familiar name, Baron Magneto. Magneto's castle stood high above the plains of Mutopia. Below, cities thrived, mutantkind rebuilt, free from the hate of humankind. Sentinels were gone, anti-mutant laws erased. It was a paradise, but not freedom. Because Doom's eyes watched everything, he allowed Magneto to rule, but the mutants knew their peace existed only by his permission. One whisper against Doom, one spark of rebellion, and Mutopia would burn. Still, for a while, they lived in peace. Storm ruled the weather for the crops. Colossus protected the borders. Emma Frost ran the telepathic network that connected every mind in Mutopia. But not everyone believed in Doom's perfect world. Deep within the citadel of science, a prisoner stirred, one who had been captured by Doom's Thor core during the formation of Battleworld. Scott Summers. Cyclops. The phoenix still burned within him, dim but alive. And as he opened his eyes, he saw through Doom's illusion. He's no god, Cyclops whispered. He's just a man, afraid of power he can't control. He escaped that night, guided by psychic whispers from Emma Frost, who felt his spark ignite once again. When Magneto saw him return, he didn't speak. He simply nodded. Because he knew, the balance was about to shatter. As the X-Men gathered again, Cyclops, Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Emma, Magneto, they began to notice the cracks in Doom's creation. In some regions, humans worshipped Doom as a deity. In others, entire populations vanished overnight. And in the skies above, the Thors patrolled, divine enforcers wielding Mjolnir-like hammers, maintaining Doom's law. The mutants began asking the question no one dared to say aloud. If Doom built this world, where did he get the power? That question became a spark. And soon a storm. Their search led them to Castle Doom, hidden beyond the Iron Forest. There, Magneto and Emma Frost used their powers to pierce the veil of Doom's reality. What they saw broke them. In the caverns below the throne, they found Molecule Man, barely alive, the true source of Battleworld's power. His existence was the key to everything. And Doom had stolen it. Emma fell to her knees. He didn't save the universe. He chained it. And in that moment, the X-Men understood. Doom's perfect world wasn't perfection. It was control. The next night, under the red moons of Battleworld, Cyclops lit the first flame. He stood atop the citadel walls, the phoenix's fire burning through his visor. We've lived in cages long enough, he declared. Mutants were never meant to serve gods. We were meant to rise. The flames spread, through the minds of mutants across Mutopia, through Emma's psychic network, through the hearts of those who still remembered the dream of Charles Xavier. Doom's paradise began to fracture, and the Thors descended. When the hammers fell, the ground cracked open. Lightning tore through the sky as Storm unleashed her fury. Magneto bent the metal of the heavens themselves, ripping the armor from Doom's soldiers. Cyclops burned through the air, his phoenix fire illuminating the night. The Battle of Mutopia had begun. For the first time, mutants weren't fighting to survive. They were fighting to live. And as the fires raged, Doom looked down from his throne and smiled beneath his mask. Let them rebel, he whispered. Even gods need entertainment. Because what the X-Men didn't know yet was that Doom wanted this. He wanted them to fight, to test them, to see if their rebellion could stand against the power of a god. Because even in perfection, Doom still craved chaos. And thus began the mutant rebellion of Battleworld, a war that would shake the foundations of Doom's empire and force the X-Men to decide, will they destroy this false paradise or rule it themselves? The fires of rebellion spread like wildfire. Every mutant city, every telepathic whisper, every heart that still remembered freedom, they all answered Cyclops' call. Mutopia was alive. The dream of Charles Xavier had returned, but twisted. Because this time, the mutants weren't dreaming of coexistence. They were dreaming of revolution. It began at dawn. Doom's enforcers, the Thor Corps, descended from the storm clouds, led by Ultimate Thor, a being forged in Doom's divine image. Lightning shattered the walls of Magneto's citadel. The ground trembled, and Magneto stood, cape whipping in the hurricane winds, eyes glowing with raw defiance. "Tell your god," Magneto roared, "that mutantkind kneels to no one." Metal screamed. Hundreds of hammers were ripped from Thor's hands mid-flight, turning in the air like iron serpents, swirling into a storm of Magneto's making. The sky burned crimson as Thor and mutant collided, God versus man, lightning versus magnetism. And for a brief moment, Magneto won. But victory came with a cost. The Thor Corps unleashed the full might of Doom's will. The citadel crumbled. Mutants scattered. And Magneto, the last son of M, vanished in the blast. Mutopia was left leaderless. But where one king fell, another rose. Cyclops stepped forward, the Phoenix Force blazing brighter than ever. Emma Frost stood beside him, her diamond form cracked but unbroken. "Magneto built a kingdom," she said. "You're about to build an empire." The mutants rallied under Cyclops' banner, not just for freedom, but for vengeance. He no longer saw Doom as a god. He saw him as a tyrant. And the Phoenix, the very essence of rebirth, called for destruction before creation. Storm gathered armies from the mutant territories. Beast and Forge rebuilt sentinels, not to hunt mutants, but to protect them. Nightcrawler led guerrilla raids into the neighboring zones, freeing captured mutants from Hydra and AIM territories. For the first time since Earth died, the X-Men became a nation of warriors. They called themselves the Phoenix Empire. As the rebellion grew, Emma Frost pushed her powers to their limit, reaching across psychic wavelengths Doom himself couldn't fully suppress. What she found chilled her to the bone. There were others fighting across Battleworld. Avengers. Inhumans. Even versions of Reed Richards hiding in secret cells. Each trapped in their own perfect kingdoms. Each believing their world was the only one left. "It's all a lie," she told Cyclops. "Doom stitched these realities together like patchwork. None of this was meant to exist." Cyclops clenched his fist, flames of the Phoenix dancing around him. "Then we'll tear it apart, piece by piece." To reach Doom, they had to cross the Doom Gate, a barrier of divine energy that encircled his central domain, Doomstat. Thousands of mutants marched. Storm darkened the sky with thunderclouds. Colossus and Rogue led the charge on the ground. The Thors met them in full force, 1,000 gods against 1,000 mutants. It was chaos, power against power, lightning against flame. Nightcrawler teleported soldiers through energy fields, while Psylocke cut through divine shields with psionic blades that burned violet light. And in the midst of it all, Cyclops rose above the battlefield, a living sun of fire and fury. "No more gods," he shouted. "No more cages." He unleashed the Phoenix. The barrier shattered. The Doom Gate cracked open like glass. For the first time in Battleworld's history, a mortal army stood at the gates of a god. Then the world stopped. The fires froze midair. Lightning halted in the sky. Every soldier fell silent. And from the heavens, a single voice boomed, deep, echoing, absolute. "Mutants," said Doom, "you were given peace. And you chose war." The clouds parted. Doom's masked face filled the sky, eyes glowing white. "Do you think I built this world for you? You are children, playing with the fire I stole from gods." He waved his hand, and in a blink, hundreds vanished. No death. No explosion. Simply erased. Storm fell to her knees. Emma screamed, clutching her head as the psychic connection with her people went dark. "He's deleting us," she gasped. "From existence." Cyclops' eyes flared. "Then we burn the code itself." He turned to his soldiers. "We end this tonight." They stormed Doomstat. The mutants fought like legends. But Doom's power, stolen from the Beyonders, was limitless. He crushed Cyclops' army in waves of white fire. He shattered Emma's mind. He broke Storm's spirit. And then, he stood before Cyclops. "Do you truly believe the Phoenix can challenge God?" Doom said. Cyclops smiled, a tired, defiant smile. "It's not about power," he said. "It's about will." He unleashed the full force of the Phoenix. The ground erupted. Reality burned. For a heartbeat, Doom stumbled. For the first time, the god bled. And then he raised his hand. There was light. And Cyclops was gone. The rebellion had fallen. But the fire he lit refused to die. When the dust settled, Doom restored Mutopia. Rebuilt it. Wiped the memory of rebellion from most minds. But not all. In the shadows, Jean Grey awoke, a remnant of the Phoenix, reborn in secret. Emma found her, trembling, eyes glowing faintly red. "He thinks the fire's gone," Jean whispered. "But gods always forget, the Phoenix never dies." And so, deep beneath Doom's perfect kingdom, the ashes of rebellion still smoldered, waiting for the day they would rise again. The rebellion had fallen, but legends never truly die. Doom thought he had erased every trace of defiance. He thought he had rebuilt Mutopia into a quiet, obedient paradise again. But beneath the gleaming towers and the peaceful streets, something stirred. It began with whispers. A strange light seen above the eastern skies of Mutopia. Dreams of fire and wings spreading across mutant minds. Jean Grey knew what it meant. The Phoenix was stirring again, faint, but alive. And this time, it wasn't just hers. She reached out telepathically, searching for others who still remembered. She found Storm, living quietly among farmers, her memory hazy but her heart restless. She found Nightcrawler, who had been preaching peace in secret chapels, but still carried the scars of a god's war. And she found Emma Frost, broken but not beaten, a queen in exile, her diamond skin cracked, her mind still sharp as ever. Together, they lit the first spark. "We can't win by fighting Doom's way," Jean said softly. "We win by reminding the world that it's not real." Emma smirked. "A psychic revolution, then?" "My favorite kind." This was no longer a war of armies. It was a war of memory, of truth. The mutants began planting psychic seeds, whispers of what once was, in the minds of others across Battleworld. Through dreams, through visions, through memories Doom couldn't erase forever. And it worked. A Thor guarding the southern borders suddenly remembered another life, one where he fought beside Captain America. A Hydra soldier dreamed of Spider-Man's jokes. And in the distant region of the shield, a clawed hand burst through the dirt, Wolverine. He was alive, buried by Doom's will, but not erased. "He tried to cage us," Logan growled. "Let's see how he likes it when we burn the walls down." The rebellion had returned. They called themselves the House of M, not as subjects of Magneto, but as his legacy. Mutants from every corner of Battleworld joined in secret. The Morlocks from the Deadlands, the New Mutants from Doomguard, even rogue Thors who had broken free of Doom's control. Storm reclaimed the skies. Wolverine led raids on Doom's temples. Jean and Emma spread the psychic truth through every kingdom, every dream. And for the first time, the people of Battleworld began to remember. The Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the True Earth. The illusion was cracking. Doom sensed it immediately. He felt the shift in faith. The silence of prayers once whispered in his name. And Doom does not tolerate heresy. He unleashed his full wrath. White storms that erased cities. Time rewound to undo rebellions before they began. Entire zones collapsing into black voids. But this time, he wasn't the only god in play. Jean Grey, now fully consumed by the Phoenix once again, soared into the upper atmosphere. Her wings of fire stretched across the horizon, defying the false sun of Doom's world. "You can't erase life, Doom," she cried. "You can only delay it." Doom appeared in the sky above her, power radiating like a dying star. "You forget who made this world, girl." Jean's eyes burned. "And you forget who destroyed the last one." Their clash split the heavens. The fight was beyond mortal comprehension. Phoenix fire against the godlight of Doom. Reality itself warped with every strike. Mountains rose and fell in seconds. Oceans turned to fire, then ice. The sky shattered like glass. Every psychic in Battleworld screamed, because they felt it. Jean was rewriting the code of creation itself. And in her flames, she saw everything. The truth of Battleworld, the power Doom had stolen from the Beyonders, and the hidden existence of Molecule Man, still chained beneath Doomstat. That was the key. The heart of it all. Jean reached out to Emma and stormed telepathically. "Free him," she said. "Free Molecule Man, and Doom's world collapses." While Jean battled Doom in the skies, Emma and Storm infiltrated the throne city. The psychic chaos masked their movements. They found Molecule Man, weak and barely human, his body pulsing with unstable energy. He looked at them with tired eyes. "If you set me free," he said, "everything ends." Storm placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then let it end on our terms." Emma smiled faintly. "Besides, endings are just another kind of rebirth." And with that, they shattered his chains. The energy release tore through the core of Battleworld. Every region, every false kingdom, began to unravel. The sky turned to light. The ground melted into memory. Doom and Jean clashed one final time, their voices echoing through eternity. "I am God," Doom roared. "You were," Jean whispered. "Now you're just human." And with one last burst of fire, the Phoenix consumed everything. When the light faded, the universe had reset. Battleworld was gone. The multiverse reborn. The mutants awoke on a restored Earth, not the same as before, but real. Jean stood among them, her hair glowing faintly with embers of the Phoenix. Storm looked to the horizon. "Did we win?" she asked. Jean smiled softly. "No one wins. We just begin again." Across the world, the first rays of dawn illuminated a symbol carved in the rubble, an M, glowing faintly gold. The world remembered them. The mutants. The dreamers. The survivors. And far above, among the stars, a faint whisper echoed. Mutants never die, they evolve. In the end, the X-Men didn't just fight Doom. They shattered the illusion of a perfect world, proving that truth, even when painful, is worth the cost. From the ashes of Battleworld rose a new dawn, a universe where memory, sacrifice, and evolution intertwined. And somewhere out there, the Phoenix burns still, waiting for the next world that dares to cage it. If you enjoyed this story, hit subscribe and dive into our next episode. What if the Avengers faced the Council of Reeds? The multiverse never sleeps, and neither do we.